My missing brother came back, but something is very wrong. When Daniel disappeared, I was 12 years old. He was 2 years older, wiser, stronger. He always knew what to do. One summer evening, he said he was going to the lake to check if it was safe to jump off the cliff. He never came back. They searched the woods, the swamps, combed the shore looking for a body. The police said that if he had drowned, he had probably gotten tangled in the plants at the bottom and they would never find him. Mom never believed that. Every night, she sat by the window, staring at the driveway, as if he would appear there. 10 years later, he did. Mom called me, her voice trembling. "Ethan, come home, right now. It's Daniel. He came back. For a moment, I couldn't breathe." "What?" "He's here. He came home." I ran out of my office and drove as fast as I could. The road to my childhood home had never felt so long. When I turned onto the driveway, I saw police cars and news crews. Neighbors stood on their lawns, whispering. I pushed through the crowd, and then I saw him. Daniel stood on the porch, and he hadn't changed at all. He should have been a grown man by now, 26 years old, but he looked exactly as he had the day he disappeared. The same brown hair, the same loose Nirvana t-shirt, the same freckles on his nose. It wasn't possible. Mom held his hand as if afraid he might vanish. Dad stood beside her, looking stunned. I approached cautiously. "Daniel?" He smiled. "Hey, Ethan, you've grown." Something about the way he said it sent a chill down my spine. The police tried to find an explanation. "Mr. Carter, do you remember where you've been for the last 10 years? One of the detectives asked. Daniel shook his head. "Number I went to the lake, and then I was here. You don't look older or malnourished. Doctors say you're in perfect health." Daniel shrugged. "I guess I was lucky. No one knew what to do." A person who had vanished 10 years ago had returned, unchanged, with no memory of where he'd been. The media went crazy. Reporters called us day and night. People speculated. Alien abduction, government experiments, time travel. Mom wouldn't let anyone question him, insisting he was her son, and that was all that mattered. But I knew it wasn't true. That wasn't my brother. That first night, I couldn't sleep. In the room next to mine, Daniel lay in his old bed. I lay in the darkness, listening. Then I heard something that made my heart freeze. Daniel was laughing, but not like before. It was a quiet, monotonous giggle, repeating at perfect intervals, like an automaton trying to mimic human joy. In the morning, he sat at the table as if nothing had happened. "Did you sleep well?" I asked cautiously. He looked at me. "Yeah." "You?" A smile. Exactly the same as yesterday. Perfectly identical. I started watching him. He didn't eat. He sat at the table, cut his food, put it in his mouth, but never swallowed. Later, I found it hidden in napkins. He didn't blink as often as he should, and his skin, it was too flawless. Up close, I noticed he had no pores, not a single blemish, not a single hair on his arms, as if it was a layer, not skin. Then came that night. I woke up and immediately knew I wasn't alone in my room. I didn't move, breathing shallowly. Then I heard it. "I know you're awake, Ethan." My heart stopped. Daniel stood over my bed. "I know you've been watching me." "What? What are you?" I whispered. He leaned in, and in the dark, his eyes were black. Not Daniel. My heart pounded, my body frozen. Daniel, or whatever looked like Daniel, was standing over me, leaning in, his face inches from mine. In the moonlight, his skin seemed unnatural, too smooth, like a mask stretched over something I wasn't supposed to see. "What? What are you?" I choked out, unable to move. He smiled. Perfectly. Teeth white, symmetrical, eerily uniform. "I told you." His voice was too calm, too controlled. "I'm not Daniel, but I'm trying. I really am. Trying." I jumped up, backing against the wall. I had nowhere to run. "What do you want?" I whispered. His head tilted at an unnatural angle. "What everyone does." "And what is that?" "I want to belong." In the morning, I tried to tell Mom. "That's not Daniel. Something's wrong, Mom. We have to—" "Ethan." Her voice was cold as steel. "You don't get to say that." I stared at her, stunned. "But he is Daniel." There was something in her eyes I had never seen before. A warning. Don't question it. Daniel walked into the kitchen and gave me that too perfect smile. "Good morning," Mom beamed immediately. "Good morning, sweetheart. I made pancakes." We sat at the table, and I watched as Daniel picked up a fork and took a bite, but he didn't swallow. He just held the food in his mouth, and then, slowly, very slowly, took it back out and placed it on his plate. No one reacted. No one. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in my room with a kitchen knife under my pillow. Something was very wrong with my family. When I heard footsteps in the hallway, I was ready. Daniel stood in my doorway. "Ethan." I didn't respond. "There's something you should know." I tightened my grip on the knife. "What do you want?" His eyes gleamed in the dark. "This isn't our first time." I blinked. "What?" He smiled wider. "You don't remember?" He tilted his head. "We've done this many times." The next days were a nightmare. I started digging through old records, articles, anything about my brother's disappearance. But there were none. No newspaper mentions, no police reports, as if he had never gone missing. But I remembered. I remembered the posters with his face on telephone poles, the cops searching the woods. The night Mom collapsed on the porch, sobbing when the detective told us we should start accepting that Daniel wasn't coming back. But now, I called the police. "I want to report a missing person." "Who?" "My brother, Daniel Carter. He disappeared 10 years ago." Silence. "Sir, we have no records of a missing person by that name." That night, I tried to escape. I packed a bag, quietly opened my window, but as I jumped onto the lawn, I heard voices. Mom, Dad, Daniel, standing in the living room, whispering. He's starting to remember. "We have to do it again. This time, it will work. This time." I froze. Then Mom said something that sent ice through my veins. "Call the others." I turned, and Daniel was standing behind me, with that same perfect smile. "I told you, Ethan." He stepped forward. "We've done this many times." I ran. I didn't think, didn't look back, I just sprinted. The night was humid, the darkness thick as tar, but I knew this road. My whole childhood, I had run barefoot down the driveway, vaulted over the neighbor's fence, disappeared into the woods when Mom called me in for dinner. This time I was running from something much worse. I heard footsteps behind me, not just one set, Mom, Dad, Daniel, and someone else. Their steps were unnervingly even, too synchronized, as if they weren't human. The forest swallowed me in seconds. Branches whipped my face, roots caught at my feet, but I didn't stop. My heart pounded, my lungs burned, and somewhere in the back of my mind, a warning screamed, "Don't get caught! Not again! Not again!" Why did I think again? Did that mean this had happened before? I had no time for answers. When I reached the lake, I tripped over something and crashed to the ground. I pushed myself up to my knees and looked down. What I had stumbled over was a row of white, perfectly even teeth scattered in the grass. I didn't have time to scream. The water behind me bubbled. I turned and saw a reflection. Not mine, Daniel's. But not the one waiting for me at home. A different one. The one who had really disappeared 10 years ago. He was paler, thinner, his eyes wide open, lips moving soundlessly. Something was holding him down. And then that something started to rise. A hand emerged from the water, then another. And then something stood before me, dripping with thick, black liquid. It had no face, but it was trying to make one. The skin pulsed, shifted, features blended and reformed. For a second, it looked like me. then Daniel, then Mom, and then, like nothing. This is not the first time. The voice echoed inside my head like my thoughts were no longer my own. And it won't be the last. I couldn't move. And then I saw them. Mom, Dad, Daniel, and many, many others. They stood at the lake's edge, all smiling the exact same way. They were not human. My mother took a step forward, reaching out her hand. "Come home, sweetheart." Daniel, the false Daniel, tilted his head. "Or maybe you'd like to try again?" I understood. I was in a loop. This had happened before, maybe 100 times, maybe 1,000. Every time I tried to escape. Every time they found me. But not this time. I lunged toward the lake, toward the real Daniel, and then I felt something grab my ankles, pulling. Water filled my lungs. I saw only his eyes. "You have to wake up, Ethan." And then, darkness. I woke up in my bed, but I knew it wasn't over.